Welcome to podcast number 2, our second official one. We're back again this week, and this week we wanted to talk about, I think, a subject that I feel like is something that needs to really be addressed. Just um, changes that we need to make in the Black community. I think that there are some things that we're doing right. Definitely, I think we have some momentum in the right direction. I also think that there's some areas that we can improve on, and I also feel like the gap is widening. I think that there's a set of our people who, their values a little bit different. And I think that there's another set who's, like I said, I just feel like there's a divide. Like we have one group moving in one direction, another group moving in another direction. So I wanted to get some of you guys' takes on that. Like what are some things that you feel like we can do as a community to improve and move forward, and progress.
I think that, Terry did a great job last episode talking about, financial literacy and really how to create a legacy and really developing a strategy. I think financial literacy, and I'm still learning it to this day, is like just learning how to be able to, you don't need the flashy cars and the flashy jewelry to prove your self-worth. I think for me, I felt like I need to have a Ferrari or Mercedes to make myself feel, worthy. But, I learned that you don't need to try to impress people as you're going along your journey, right? The only person you need to focus on really impressing is yourself, right? And really focusing on, what it is that you value, and then, acting on that. So I think that's a big thing just in the Black community that is really, really apparent, from athletes to rappers. I think that's really, really big.
I would say exposure. I think there should be definitely a lot more exposure to things for our youth, so they can actually see it's more to. I mean, the only thing that they're exposed to right now is entertainment, is like being an entertainer and like rappers. You got to be seen, but if we can expose them to opportunities and what it looks like for their legacy. We was talking about this on with some friends of mine, where we was talking about how people are, of different descent or different races, they're exposed to things that we don't expose our own kids to. So I think if we start exposing them or try to get more exposure to our youth, then it will give them more opportunities to see that there's a different side or a different path that they can take.
I'm just going to bounce off what you said, Terry, about exposure, just having those resources, right? Like the connections and the resource. But I want one thing just from my perspective, right? We can't speak on the whole Black community. But I know for my past experiences, I know me and Courtney have talked about this, especially for Black women in business and in the community, is definitely that support, right? What does that support look like? How can we support each other? I think our white counterparts do a lot better, to be very honest, when it comes to networking and support than, Black women in business or Black women in general. I think sometimes we think there's a shortage of money or opportunity, and in reality, we have to tear each other down to get where we want to go in life. And I think just the support, I think in our community, and I think it's gotten tons better, right? I think we talk about, we lack support, but then, we gather like we did in 2020, and we gather when there's tragedy. But I wish we had that type of camaraderie throughout, the whole year when there's not tragedy going on. So I think for me, it's just the support, that aspect is so big when it comes to success or failure. And to have that, especially with the Black women, is so crucial, especially to young women, right? Young girls growing up, to use each other versus, go against each other like it's a competition. And I think culture does that to us and make us compete against. I mean, there's racism within our own race, right? Oh, light skin, dark skin, all these, colorisms that, oh, because you're this, you're better, because you're that, you're not. So I think it starts at a very young age. Where we're pinned against each other. So when you grow up, you think, oh, I have to fend for myself, strong Black independent woman, and that's great. That's what we preach, but it's not always the way,
One thing I don't want to do is just complain. I also want to provide like solutions to the the situations, you know. So when you say support, support sometimes looks like collaboration, you know, with other people who need your support. You know, like if I'm good at, you know, maybe my business, let's say my business is in sneakers or yeah, sneakers, and I'm not good with advertising or marketing, you know, I need support from a person that's good with advertising and marketing. And so, you know, finding somebody that's black to work with, you know, and collaborate in that sense. I think that support is easier than we make it to be, you know, even if it is starting with our immediate circle and working outwards, because at that point you can then, you know, network with other
One
people.
thing to piggyback on y'all, I think support as far as encouragement, words of encouragement is important because a lot of people, they have a lot of negative backgrounds, negative environments to where they don't believe it can be done. Or they don't believe they're worthy enough for certain things. So I think them being told that they're good enough and them also being told that they can achieve great things will help out too, because they can get support all day, but if they don't believe it, you know, they'll never achieve it. Because a lot of people, especially blacks, they don't believe they're good enough for a lot of things, which is why they kind of do certain things in certain ways. So I think words of encouragement is just as important.
Going to everything you guys said is true, but I also look at support a little bit different. So I think support comes from taking the initiative ourselves. I don't think we do that a lot. Taking the initiative to learn what we need to learn or to connect with who we need to connect to, because we want people to come to us versus us reaching out to them. You know, so I think we need to really, you know, take the initiative a lot more in order to get the support that we feel like we need. Because support is out there, but sometimes people don't know what they don't know. You know, you gotta put yourself in front of them, show them what you're lacking, and then that's when everything else will go from there.
Going back to finances, what can help our community is circulating our dollars, right, within our businesses. So the other day, I'm going to the beauty supply store, which is typically Asian owned, and they didn't have what I was looking for. So I kept Googling and I found another one that I didn't even know was like around the corner. And it was a Black woman behind the cash register. And I said, "Is this a Black owned beauty supply store?" She says, "Yeah, me and my husband own it together." Now the prices are a little bit higher, but 100% I'm going to go there every single time. And she's opening a second location closer to like, you know, an HBCU. And so it's really making it a point when we shop online, when we're looking up things, where is this money going? Because if we keep it in our community, that's a big part of, you know, wealth building. The businesses is one thing, because we're huge consumers. So just finding out where is that money going. If it's Black owned, support it.
Do you feel like people don't go to Black owned businesses because it's not the Louis Vuitton, it's not the Prada, like I don't know. I'm just curious why like people don't do it more.
To that point, to your point, Courtney, I actually when people, what I've heard, and we actually had this discussion the other day, when I've heard people don't go to Black business, to your point that it's a little bit more expensive, but what they don't realize is they have to be expensive because so many people pass them over to go and shop with something cheaper, but actually you're doing more damage to our own community by passing over them because it's a couple of dollars more than what you would pay somewhere else. So I think you're right. They need to start shopping more at the circulating the money within the neighborhood. And also when it comes down to your point, Akil, about why everybody starts somewhere. So if they start investing more money back into the clothing of, you know, the Black people, you know, whatever, their clothing, you know, then it will be on the same lines of the rich white people that have Louis Vuitton and Gucci and Versace and all that stuff like that. Everybody has to start somewhere, just like these Yeezys. You know, this guy came out of nowhere. You know, he came out of nowhere and he, like, you know, people invested into his stuff, even though, you know, I think we need to start, you know, redirecting our dollars, you know, but it starts with our mindset, because we have an image in our head what social media puts in there, saying that's what success look like if you're wearing this, because they don't know other cultures.
Of course, we all support Jordan. He's Black. His shoes are hella expensive, but Shaq got shoes at Walmart.
Because LeBron James got $200 shoes. I mean, Rihanna's a billionaire. She has her stuff. So I mean, it's about selective and what's flashy. So if it's expensive, sometimes they'll pay more for it. So nobody's gonna go to Walmart because the dude won't. It's not socially accepted for a man to go to Walmart and buy Shaq shoes. More material than anything. So I had a buddy. We talked about it like we did it. Like he did an experiment one day. He went and bought a Walmart shirt, shorts, and everything, and everybody was like, "Okay, look good. Where you get it?" But he's like, "Walmart." Everybody looked at him funny. But like if you get like he got to have the designer, this, and they go buy the knockoff Ferragamo belt. When in reality, that Ferragamo belt costs $200-$300. But guess what? They got to look the part. So I think a lot of Black people do it more for status than anything.
What is it that we value? Which then goes into the things that we put in our brains, like the music. I was at that same lady's place that I was telling you about that had a YouTube channel that was just about eating and talking, but in the app before she was watching that, she was watching just like music videos, and she was 50 something, so like I think like the videos, the music, the and it's funny always coming from a person that's a little bit older and looking at the younger generations, like what they're doing, because I'm sure my dad probably said the same stuff about ours, about our music and and so on and so forth. But I think like the if there's no awareness about what we put into ourselves, then there can be no awareness about what comes out of ourselves. You know what I mean? Because it's going to come out. Like whatever it is that we put in is going to come out. So like things that glorify violence, killing, everybody how pagers was a thing.
I know people had beepers.
Yeah, people wore beepers back. People are wearing guns like they wear beepers now.
Beepers.
Like it's crazy, especially here in Alabama. I don't know how it is in Georgia. I don't know if you can just like carry like that, But in Alabama, everybody has gun. I mean, it's like
scary,
right?
Yeah.
So I think just like the culture, the message that is continuously conveyed. And the imagery that goes into us is like junk in, junk out, just like a computer program,
Made me think. I was just in Houston visiting my mom, and guns are like, bracelets over there as well, right? And I think it's the media just feeling a lot of fear around anything and everything they can get people on. You got to defend yourself. Your neighbor's gonna steal from you. Everything in between. But before we go on that, I want to say something on what Fig said too about Walmart. And that man, I saw a meme, and the meme was like, they did a survey asking 50 women if they rather have a man that has 40K in their bank account with a stable job and goes to work every day that has 40K, or would they want a man that had 250K that was a hustle, a gangsta. And the survey turned out that women want a hustle and a gangsta. Like that's what they see on TV. That's what they see, and then they're like, yeah, we rather businessmen, men that are stable are boring. Like just the comments were crazy. And I'm like, what are we filtering in this? Like, what are we filtering? And all of it was two Black men. All the comments were Black. It was from a Black comedian, and he released it. And I'm like, is this what we preach? Like, is this what we're okay with? Like, you as a woman want to be with someone that, and then a girl comment underneath it, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna help my man flip that to double what he has. At least those gangsters keep you on your toes. I'm like, wow, it's like, but it makes you really realize, like, okay, how many white billionaires shop at Walmart? Every single one of them. This was a Black platform. So it just was alarming that people were just going at it, thinking that was super cool to comment on that. And then, I'm asking my white friends, and they're like, obviously the 40K in the bank and the stability.
Funny that you said that, because it is a culture thing, because it actually is, because white people, statistic shows that white people marry for stability and like legacy. So they don't even have to be in love with their mate, but if they got stability and they have a legacy that they're gonna create, they will actually marry that dude and then grow to love him once they have the family. Black folks look for, our culture looks for more so, okay, well, he got to have it's not about stability, it's all about like how I feel about him right now, and then live in poverty. Statistics shows that we're living in poverty as long as they can afford to get the bag or whatever the case may be. I mean, that's a fact. It shows that. Study shows that.
No, there is. So
Right.
I'm gonna back you up. There's research proven that Black women tend to marry men that they see potential in. Potential. White women are not. There's articles and facts on this. So that's funny you say that, because I couldn't like Google it.
Very
y'all.
strategic. They very strategic with how they
Making
do it.
very general statements. Obviously, these things don't apply to all Black. What originally made me think about this was seeing trash on the side of the street in the Black neighborhoods. Like, I'm so sick of that. I am so sick of seeing people just throw trash out the window in the Black and it's like crap everywhere, and nobody like does anything about it. It's I don't know. It's disheartening to see how people treat the environment that they pay to live in. So I don't know. I just like keep a bag in keep a Target bag or I'm sorry, a Walmart bag in your car to throw the trash away in, and then just empty it when you get out the car.
When you say that, that immediately makes me think of like looting our neighborhoods when we're upset, right? When we're protesting. I mean, I would think that most of the time people say, well, it's not mine, right? So outside, that's not mine. I can litter there because it's not my house. I can steal from this place because everybody's doing it. It's not my property. They have insurance.
That's why you'll never have nothing, because you don't know how to treat anything. To whom much is given, much is required. Like, you don't get anything if you don't take care of the stuff that you already have. Like, that's why people are poor. They have a crappy mentality about how they treat things. The Bible talks about if you're faithful in the little things, I'll make you ruler over more. I don't know the scripture. I know that it was, pastor had said something about it one day, and I confirmed it in the scripture, but I can't quote the one.
I think it might be in Proverbs. That talks a lot about money. I think it might be there. But I think, Renata, that goes back to what you said originally, like what you value, right? Like, so most people that litter probably they weren't raised to value, okay, the streets or, picking up after, having the community, or, what you said. So I think that goes back to like, what are we preaching? What are we teaching to the younger generation, and how are we keeping our community safe, secure, upkept? You don't have to, I'm from New Orleans. I was just home, flew home to get my hair done. Yeah, I'm not bougie, but I go home and I'm like, these white people walking through the Ninth Ward, and it looks nice. It looks cleaned up. And in my head, I'm like, it takes a white person to move into a neighborhood, to clean it up, to raise the property value. Like, why the people that have been there all their lives couldn't have done that, or vice versa. So I think it's like what you value, what we preach in a community. How can we, to your point, what can we do to better that or spread that awareness within our community?
So, we've identified a lot of the problems. Let's talk about solutions. Let's talk about some more, things that we can do to help. One, I guess, philosophy and a mentality change that I would encourage would be just the adaptation of an abundance mindset, and rather than a scarcity mindset, and the ability to create what we want. I feel like that's what faith is. Our ability to create and our actions following what we're looking to create, and thus making it come to pass. Somebody thought about a airplane, and now we fly. Somebody thought about an electric car, and now we drive electric. You know what I'm saying? So like at some point we create what we want. And so the environment, the life, the shift in mentality is going to have to be the thing that I guess moves us to where we want to be, rather than how we have been, up until this point. Like scarcity, there's enough for everyone. There's enough women, there's enough men, there's enough money, there's enough cars, there's enough to go around. And if there's not, then we can create what we want. And so I think that the just that mentality shift will
I
help.
think you're right. I think the biggest issue though is for people to step out in that leadership role, because not a lot of people want the pushback of being different versus doing what most people expect them to do. That's what they like to take. They like to take that route. But when you're different, not a lot of people willing to take that route, because it's not appealing to people. So I think it's going to take more and more people to take a leadership role and actually want to be a leader versus a follower. That's just what it is. So whoever takes that role, that's what they're gonna have to do. I mean, any one of us could do it, but not just us, but it could be anybody in that particular community. All right, somebody has to stand out and take a leadership role in order for the narrative to actually get changed. Because even if you don't get everybody, you may get one person, and that one person may be good enough to affect in a positive manner.
Couldn't agree more what you said, Terry. I was going to say this earlier, but I forgot. I'm like Courtney. But I think one thing that works so well, and I'm mixed, so I deal with a lot of white people. My mom's white. I've talked to her. I'm around that culture a lot, and my mom's family is that they're them, like they're authentically them. I think with the Black community, or even me at times, like trying to figure out who I am. I don't want to make anybody mad. I'm an aggressive woman, like off rip. I'm a little violent. I probably will offend you within the first couple of, sentences, but like I am me and I show up as me all the time. And one thing I've learned in the past couple of weeks that I'm reading these books, I'm watching these podcasts, I'm listening to all these business people, that they're like, I'm not for everyone. And that's okay. And I think a lot of white people have that figured out. They're not trying to be for everyone. They're trying to be for them. And I think as a Black woman, that took a long time, because you should be strong, but not too strong. Oh, you should have your own stuff, but not too independent. Oh, you should speak your mind, but don't speak it too much. So I think, Courtney probably can vouch for this, but I think especially for Black women in a community, it's hard to teeter-totter both. We're either angry and aggressive, or we're timid and we're too codependent. So I think to just figure out who you are and lean into that and be okay with that, and then be able to lead in whatever or follow, that's 100% okay as well. But be you. And I think as a community, we've tried so hard to be what social media wants us to be, what culture wants us to be, whatever that looks like on the big, the bigger scale. And then we go home to, reality, right? We go on to whatever that looks like. So I think, to your point, Terry, I think to figure out who you are is so important, and knowing that who you are is good enough. And
I think too, with that, like being the best version of who you are, like people will say stuff like, well, that's just me, or I'm being myself. Okay, well, are you being your best version of yourself? That's cool to be authentic and to be you, but like, are we still improving? For somebody to say, well, this is how I am, that's just how I am, that's not the person I want to be around. I want to be around somebody that's going to evolve, change, grow, have, realizations about life, gain wisdom through their experiences, so I think that's important as well.
I also think it's like, which is a whole nother topic by itself, growth, right? I think sometimes in our community, it's like, oh, you outgrow me. Oh, you think you're too good, whatever. Like, what does growth look like? We should be praising growth. We should be encouraging each other. I think Fig said that earlier. Like, it's okay to outgrow people. It's okay to outgrow stages. It's okay to grow in your everyday walk, because that's what you're supposed to do as a human.
The problem was crabs in a barrel kind of mentality. And so the solution, I think, which goes to the support, is brotherly love, right? And it's tough, especially being a woman. I'll give you another example. I was going into my dentist's office and I saw this Black guy. He was cleaning up the parking lot. Obviously, it was his job. He's in like the orange, whatever. And I smile, right? I go in, I come out, he's still there. But I guess my smile was so friendly, it made him think he needed to holler at me. So now I've put myself in this position of, okay, now I have to, right?
Gotta shoot your shot.
So when I say no, now he didn't do this. But sometimes there's a tendency for Black men to be sensitive about being turned down. And now I got to be called out of my name, or now I'm ugly, or all of these other things as to why I just want to say hello, my brother, love you, goodbye. Right. But, but it's some, the support is tough. I just saw, and this might be a little off topic, but I literally just saw this video. I don't know when it happened, whatever. This boy is a part of some gang in LA. One of his friends defaced Nipsey Hussle's like mural.
Yeah.
And so they, they're gang members, so they gotta look out for one another, brotherly love, I guess. But the other guy gets killed on IG Live. Like, he's talking to the guy who does it.
Yeah.
He sees somebody and they shoot up his car, and you can literally watch this video. And so, I thought that's something we got to change in our community, but how do we do it? How do we, love on each other without feeling like, well, if I don't know you, F you, So
I think something that will help too is start showing more slow to react to things with patience. I think
responding,
our culture, yeah, we react without thinking a lot, right? And I think sometimes you can show somebody that's aggressive by treating them with, not giving them the same energy that they're giving you. So that would be a good solution, a good way to start, because sometimes peace is good enough. Showcase peace versus aggression as well. And that's normally what happens when you two people show aggressive nature, then that's a fight is going to happen. But if one person, not let their pride get in the way and just decide, like, you know what, I'm gonna bless you tonight by just walking away, right?
Or is it really worth it?
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah. By blessing you, by keeping us all safe tonight, right? Sometimes when a person think about that and say, "Oh man, I was acting a fool," because sometimes you can make a person go home and say, "Man, I was really acting a fool today," and this person didn't even react to it, right? So that will get somebody to start thinking like, okay, maybe I need to change my habit versus fighting crime with crime, so to speak, or aggression with aggression.
Last thing for me, in terms of solutions, there's a guy I know. His name is Jay, and Jay is a really good facilitator between people. He connects people with other people, that may need their resources. Anytime he meets someone that needs sneakers, he'll plug them in with me. Anytime there's something that I'm looking for and he's aware of it, he'll make an effort to plug that person in with me, So I think that being a facilitator and, introducing people to each other so that they can connect and work. That's how I'm in the industry that I'm in now, and kind of made the change that I made because that friend Jay introduced me to another friend who then introduced me to, the guy I work with now. So, like, we never know where our lives and careers can go, just by that interaction or meeting that new person. So, all right, well, that's our time, folks. We appreciate you getting on and discussing this topic. I think that we kind of wore it out tonight, and hopefully, it wasn't just like complaining or, issues and things that we didn't like, but also, I hope that you got some good out of it. Until the next time, we're out.